Hi and welcome back to the channel. And really this is a realignment of the whole concept of what I'm doing here. And after really looking at it and really going into what are the things that would actually get me running to the camera, absolutely so keen to share something, and what would greatly invigorate me as a creator and deliverer of information and magic. What would be something that would utterly astound me and really call me forward to be a higher possibility, call me forward into a higher possibility. Now, the thing, I've got my notes here, by the way, just so I don't get drastically off course as I can do. Now, the thing that's really always fascinated me about being alive, being in this world, is what I call enhanced human potential. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, I call it the Trinity. Now, this is really the quality of experience that I want to have as a human being in this reality, experiencing this reality. And the Trinity for me, now this is just something that I've made up. There's no particular transmission with this, although you could say that everything's a transmission. But this is really saying that I want the creative, curious disposition of an artist, which I'm an artist, creator, the kind of mind that's got a real intense curiosity that wishes to explore reality, go really into the depth of reality and ask meaningful and astonishing questions and receive those answers. The next bit is really the wisdom and I'd say expansiveness of a mystic. Now, I know this might sound like a tall order, but why not aim for something really high? And then to match all of that, the third part of the Trinity is that I want the energy and vital physicality of an athlete. So I want to feel that my body is really alive and really able to perform at a high level. And I want to not to be experiencing pain and chronic pain and all of these things that are associated with aging, for example. And the reason this is kind of poignant in many ways is that I'm actually approaching the age of 60. So I see this as kind of like a landmark in a way. It's, although, you know, many ages are, for me, the idea of the 6, and then you join that up, and then you've got the infinity sign. So I know you've got that when you're 80, but I'm just kind of making this stuff up, really. Now, the thing with that is that, of course, we have a story in our culture about aging. We have a story about what's possible and what you can do and what you should be doing and how you should be approaching life and what you can expect and what you can't expect. Now, I'd like to just put all of that to one side here. I'd like to say that I don't believe the vast majority of the stories, the narrative that we're given about aging and what's really possible as a human being. Now, recently, I've come across this guy called Brian Johnson. Now, he's an interesting character, and I mean, there's many other people as I'll talk about in his kind of sphere of investigation. And he actually calls himself a longevity athlete. And I quite like that. I thought that's kind of an interesting spin on it. And I mean, there's a whole spate now of coming up with like longevity. Am I even saying it right? Longevity. Kind of people that are saying, oh, you know, like Ray Kurzweil's looking at, you know, uploading our consciousness into some kind of weird computer. I mean, I wrote about this actually years ago in a book called The Seed, sci-fi book that I wrote. And, you know, kind of almost like the incredible hell that this would actually end up manifesting into if we gave it over to the people that tend to own and control these kind of systems. And really, with someone like Brian Johnson, he's a multi millionaire. He's now developing a company, or he's developed a thing called Kernel, which is this kind of weird, looks like sort of space helmet that you put on that analyzes your brain and looks deep into the neurological activity of what's going on. And these people are all kind of, and there's a whole sort of things called nootropics, and all these people like Dave Asprey that are, you know, taking all these things, and like Brian Johnson's sort of taking, I don't know what it was, something like 100 different supplements, and he puts himself through this thing called Blueprint, which is like super analyzing every single biomarker in his body, and then of course with the thing, the kernel thing in the brain as well. And he's kind of come on the scene because he's claiming, or, you know, presumably through data, that he's reversing his age. So he says that he's the obviously, you know, you've got the chronology of your age, you know, you can't reverse that, you know, the arrow of time keeps going, but his biological age, he's claiming he's kind of reduced that by about 5 years or something like that. Now, I think that this, I mean, obviously it's interesting. We all want to be performing at our highest level. Now, the thing that I feel these people are actually leaving out of the mix is the whole spiritual and what I would call the magical aspect of being human. Now, they're already kind of marching on to, you know, the next phase of humanity with all of these devices and super analytics and AIs and all of that. And they seem to have kind of, in a sense, missed out the fact that, you know, this idea of living for hundreds, possibly even thousands of years is nothing new. This is nothing new on the agenda. Having a super high level of experience of life is nothing new on the agenda. You know, mystics, shamans, shamancas, adepts have been doing this for thousands of years. You know, even the Bible talks about people that lived for many hundreds of years. So this is not this, you know, they're coming at this like this is something new, and only through science and analytics and technology can these sort of things be achieved. Now, these people spend, like, you know, millions on all different kinds of techniques to enhance their capabilities. What I'm looking to explore as I reach this landmark age is, what can I do with very limited, I haven't got millions to spend. In fact, I haven't even got thousands to spend on this. And yet I feel that there's so much wisdom and knowledge and possibility that is already available through information, through history, through people that have achieved extraordinary things and shared their knowledge and their experience. And I feel that this is a whole area that is just not really being addressed in terms of how we approach aging. Now, the other side of this whole mix is that, you know, it's kind of like there's nothing wrong with getting old. There's nothing wrong with that. And we're all going to get old, even these people that think they're going to live for thousands of years. I mean, at some point, they will it will come to an end. You know, even stars come to an end. But my point is that what's the point? My point is, what is the point in living an extra 100 or 200 or even 300 years if you don't have the real essence and quality? You haven't really understood what it means to live on an exquisite level. Now, let me explain a little bit more about what I'm talking about here. Now, ever since I was very young, I was able to see energies. And what I mean by that is to kind of see what people might call auras, but it was a kind of even a different experience to that. I could actually sort of see and experience, and it was like energies spoke to me. And I had that ability, and I believe everyone actually has that ability. And this is something that I'm going to be covering and talking about and sharing with you, and helping you to enhance these specific abilities in your own life. And it wasn't until kind of the school era that that whole thing started to fade away. And then I had a very profound, what you might call awakening experience in my late 30s, early 40s. And it seemed like that whole thing came back online again. So there's a whole way of observing and being present in life that allows us to have this dimension of communication, dimension of like a dynamic, interrelated conversation with nature. And it's something that I believe is totally possible and there for everyone. I mean, this has been spoken about by, in tribal cultures, many other cultures, many philosophies speak about this, many practices, ancient practices speak about this. So it's not that I want to kind of just drag us all the way back to the past. I feel that there's a way to create a kind of union of the very best and the very most extraordinary and the most magical way of looking at the past and seeing what it has to offer, and then kind of drawing the future to us and combining those things to enable us to have that enhanced quality of experience of life. Now, I think that, this whole idea of like super analyzing and through data and science. Now, we've all seen what happens when we're so-called following science. I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about here. Now, I'm just not built like that, and I'm sure many of you aren't. Now, this whole idea of having the mind of an artist, as if it were, I'm also dyslexic. So when people start presenting me with like endless amounts of data, and as if that sort of really does tell us something about the quintessential nature of being human, it doesn't actually really do much. It doesn't really tell us anything. Now, getting back to this whole thing of aging and how, really what we're looking for, I believe, it's not the fact that we get old, for me anyway. It's more the point that we don't want to be decrepit. We don't want to literally fall to bits as we get older, because that's the story that we're given. And of course, life impacts on us. Now, for me, I've had many things that have impacted on my life that I've had to work hard to transform. And I mean, just one or two of those things, so we just know where we're coming from here. Now, teeth. Now, you might look at my teeth now. I mean, many people talk about this, like this idea of British teeth, that they don't look like fridge doors and stuff like that. But, really what we're looking for is healthy, strong teeth that don't have decay, and the same with gums. Now, when my second teeth came through, they literally came through all twisted up and back to front, and absolute mess. I mean, God knows what precipitated that. Many people talk about it was kind of, it's trauma in the womb or something. I don't know whether it's some kind of ancestral thing, DNA. I don't know. There didn't seem to be any history in my immediate family of dental issues like I had. So my teeth came through, they were all over the place. It was just bizarre. And I went through years and years and years of all different kinds of braces, all different kinds of interferences with my mouth. And, it was really quite miserable at times. And the other point about this is that I had a dentist that my parents did their very best, but they just didn't really, I'm talking about like the the 60s and 70s. I mean, there wasn't really that kind of awareness that we have now and the understanding around things. Like I look at how my daughter's dental treatment is compared to how mine was. And it seems now that, generally speaking, this is in the UK, they don't rush to fill children's teeth, and they certainly don't put mercury fillings in teeth. But, you know, my dentist, I don't know whether he was just, I know they got paid per filling or something. So I'm you know, I'm kind of, maybe I'm being unfair, but it seems to me that there was a lot of drilling teeth unnecessarily. And, you know, I ended up with loads of amalgam fillings and braces, all kinds of stuff going on. Now, over the years, I've worked very hard to heal that what was going on originally. And, you know, right to the point when I was probably, I think about 32, I had my whole teeth realigned completely. And it took 2.5 years, and it was very uncomfortable, very painful. And I believe that health, they say health starts in the mouth, and it's very fundamental for our health and our well-being. And part of the issue now, of course, as you get older, there's this thing called gum recession. And for me personally, I did a lot of damage to my gums because I overcompensated for having problems with my teeth when I was younger. So, you know, frantically brushing. So I've worn away different parts of my gums. So for me now, at this point, I'm looking to see, is it possible to regenerate that? Is it possible? I'm saying that it is. And I know there's many techniques that tell me it is. Now, of course, these multimillionaires, they're all jetting to Costa Rica or wherever it is and having stem cell treatment, $10,000 a pop. And that's all very well. But I'm not going to be doing that. So I'm going to be looking at how, you know, someone who hasn't got $10,000 to just blow on a trip to Costa Rica to get some work done on their gums and teeth. How can we regenerate our teeth? Is that possible? Of course it is. So, you know, I'm going to be starting from very basic stuff and working up and up and up. And of course, getting to the point where we're looking at consciousness, how we can raise our consciousness, how you can, like I said, see energies, experience energies, have that really sense of an expansive, almost like, you know, you could call it blissful nature in the mind. So you have the energy, you know, going through the body, a blissful energy, lack of chronic pain, a sense of pleasure and real delight in the body, and also a sense of pleasure and delight in the mind. So the mind is a place of expansiveness. There's this sense of energy running up from the spine into the mind, and this, you know, kind of being bathed in this sense of exquisiteness, of beauty, of a feeling of, you know, kind of what you might call, I don't know, kind of ultra aliveness. So you really feel the almost like the crackling aspect of life as it comes into being. So that's something that I'm going to be looking at. These guys don't seem to be speaking about this kind of aspect. Now, I'm not against what they're up to. Good luck to them. It's great. But I'm just looking at it from a different way. The other areas that I've always had problems with is my skin. So, of course, as you get older, they say, you know, I've got, you know, the natural signs of aging. Also, hair loss. Now, my hair fell out when I was probably about 30, late 20s. My daughter says my hat is my hair now. And really, if I went back now, I would have some strategies to possibly enable me to not have that happen, and for me to regenerate some of that. So I have that knowledge now, but it's been a long time. I think that would be a tall order for me to grow thick hair back. I really do think that would be a tall order. I'd quite love to, but I'm not holding out much hope for that at all. What I am holding out a lot of hope for is and what I've already been experimenting with, is actual physical, you know, the physicality. So this idea of physically degenerating, I'm looking at how can I get better? How can I get more athletic, have better endurance, have a greater sense of pleasure in my body as the years go by, not less. So kind of going against the normal narrative of, yeah, you know, this is inevitable as you get old. One of the things that I have managed to do something with is my eyesight. So when I was, how old was I now? 35, I was prescribed glasses, and, you know, said that I had, you know, quite degenerated eyesight in, I think it was in my left eye, that was more, way more out of kilter than my right eye, but there was a problem there, and they prescribed me glasses, and I was wearing these glasses for probably about 6 months, and in the end I just got so fed up with wearing these things. I just wasn't used to, I wasn't someone who'd worn glasses, and one day I just kind of like, I just forgot them, and then I'd gone through the whole day and I realized that actually my eyes seemed okay. And then as time went on, I started to do some exercise. I started to look far away, close up. I started to put my eyes through different exercises and paces. I started to meditate. I started to visualize internally, visualize perfect eyesight, my eyes getting better. I started to bring energy from my heart up into my eyes. I started to bring energy from the universe, telluric energy from the earth, universal energy, and meeting, you know, behind my eyes and bathing my eyes, and as if the light's coming out from my eyes, not going in, but coming out from my eyes. So there's this bathing, healing light coming out through the eyes, and actually literally getting rid of anything that's in the way, just cleansing the eyes. And then, of course, yeah, looking at the light that comes in is also doing the same thing. So, and lo and behold, never wore the glasses again, and almost, like I said, almost 60, and my eyesight's pretty damn good. I'm an artist. I work with visuals all the time. I don't wear glasses, and I've never kind of looked back from that. So I can attest that it's very possible to heal your eyesight. So that's one thing. Is there anything else yeah, so just over the years, I just going to just so you know, there's many things that I've looked at, and you know, I've studied, you know, fasting. I even went into the whole thing of breatharianism, and I tried that out, fruitarianism. I had some really interesting things come up, and really amazing experiences, and things that came up from that. Many incredible healings that came up from that. Healing chronic injuries and pain in the body, all kind of went away and healed, never to return. Many shamanic techniques, sound healing, using sound, the power of sound, breath work, like breatharian is not necessarily breath work, but incorporated with various different breathing techniques, all about oxygenating the body. Using magic and manifestation techniques, like I was talking about previously. Many different energy practices, but there's so much to cover. There's so many things that we can do to, like I said, greatly enhance our experience of being alive on this planet. And I believe, you know, one thing that I did like about this, check out Brian Johnson and his thing called Blueprint. The one thing that I did like about, actually I like several things about him. It was that he made a very good point. And the point that he made was to stop doing harm to ourselves. That idea of, you know, do no harm. That when we stop doing harm, that's the first thing, to kind of end the war in ourselves first. And the primary thing is to end the war in ourselves. And when we end the war in ourselves, then we can start to work on ending the wars out, the external wars, the other issues. It's very difficult when we've got a war going on within ourselves to really tackle the other things that really need really good, clear thinking and really good, clear actions. That's just how I see it anyway. So I think I'm going to end it there, because this is something that I'm going to continue. This is going to be the focus of this channel going forward. Now, I know it's been all about tarot reading and creativity and all of that kind of thing. But really, like I said, I have to go forward with the thing that's going to get me, this just going to light me up. And this is what I spend my days thinking about. So even when I, even though I'm an artist, it might sound crazy, but I've never been that interested in art. I've always been interested in where it came from. I've been more interested in how that process of art and creativity somehow came from somewhere and was transduced through our human nervous system and mind, whatever, and then actually manifested into the world. That's what interested me about being an artist, and that's what still interests me. That's what interests me about being a human being. So if you want to come along on this journey, if you want to see if there's how you can enhance your physical, your emotional, your mental, spiritual sense of being, then this is going to be a place of experimentation. And, I'm going to be doing it along with you, hopefully. So, as I come across things, and I'll be sharing things that I've already tried and I've had success with, and I've had different kinds of experiences with that have been enormously beneficial. So I think it's going to be a very powerful journey for anyone who wants to come along with me. And there's so many interesting and amazing things that I'd love to share. And it goes way beyond the idea of just art and creativity and tarot and all of those kind of things. Those things are all part of it. However, I feel that the contribution here could be so great and so beneficial to so many people. And especially, for example, this whole idea, I talk to people that are in their late 20s and early 30s that are already worried about aging and worried about, they're having things going on that really shouldn't be going on at those tender ages. And, I think as a culture, we have somehow lost our way. And I think the whole longevity thing is also in a way lost the point of everything here, because it's not necessary. There's not much point in living huge extended lives if we don't have this deep sense of meaning and wonder that accompanies that extra time. And also the other thing is that if we don't have a real sense of our position in reality and our sense of this handing over things to other generations and other and letting new things come through, if we can't let go of this sense of fear of ending as well. So another thing that Brian Johnson said that I thought was really worth sharing is that he asked himself whether he wants to wake up and have another day tomorrow. Do I want to wake up tomorrow? And I think that's kind of, in a way, he has a philosophical slant to it. He's not just trying to live longer. He's trying to sort of say, well, as long as I have the quality of life there, I want to keep going. But there's also consequences for that way of looking at things. My sense is that, in a way, it's almost like, the samurai thing, it's like this sense of, you already know that there's going to be an ending. And to live with that on your shoulder every day and be fine with it, to be empowered by it and to be powerful, but within that to create the most incredible, enriching, empowering way of operating in the world and experiencing the world and sharing those experiences and enabling and potentializing the people that you come into contact with. So we all get to be part of a greater sense of possibility and experience. So I hope that defines how we're going to be moving forward. And, like I said, I didn't get through all the notes, but we're going to be covering a lot of stuff. And I'm going to be sharing these things and in quite a lot of detail, so you can participate and you can try these things out for yourself and you can see how they will work for you and impact your life, enrich your life and empower you to live your highest human potential. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you very shortly.